welcome to StoryHive On Location, Calgary. I'm your host, Nicolas, and I'm thrilled to bring you a new episode produced with the support of TELUS STORYHIVE. Stay tuned, because I can't wait to show you what comes next, here in the beautiful city of Calgary. I am here this morning joined by Kaitlin. Kaitlin is a painter based here in Calgary, Alberta. Kaitlin, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. How's November been for you?
It's been nice.
Yeah?
Warm. I like it warm.
Yeah. That's a privilege here in Calgary, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Did you grow up here in Calgary?
So I was born in Saskatoon, where it's even colder than when I was...
More inspiration for your winter paintings.
Yeah. All my extended family's out there. And then when I was 5, we moved to Okotoks.
Just around the corner?
Yeah, basically. At the time, it felt farther away because we hadn't sprawled as far out yet. But and then moved to Calgary when I was about 10, and I've grown up here since then.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw your Instagram page that you're very, very focused on the city.
Yeah.
You're very inspired by it.
Yeah.
How'd you start painting?
I don't even remember. I was so young. I started taking even art classes probably when I was 7. And then just on and off, I was always drawing. I was always painting. And in high school, I went to Central, which is an art school in Calgary.
Yeah, I've heard about it. It's got a
program.
great theater program there too.
Yeah. So I went for the visual arts, and I just kind of have always been in it. I don't even know how it started anymore.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So just kind of something that grew into you from a very young age.
Yeah.
Were you always painting city landscapes and stuff?
No, that just kind of happened a year ago. I had stopped painting for probably about 5 years, and I started again 2 years ago, and then last year I got into the Under 100 art show, which is in Calgary every year, and it's all these artists that get accepted agree to sell their art for $100 or under, and it's really good it's kind of like a liquidation sale for extra art that artists want to clear out for the year. And I wanted to just put in as much as I could because I was painting again, and I was local Calgary, and I just started painting buildings and interiors, and that's kind of how that started.
When you were growing up, when you were getting into painting, was there someone in the family maybe, or maybe a mentor that kind of guided you through the process?
My dad drew a lot. I remember drawing a bunch with him when I was a kid. He was always really good at drawing too, and I would have his drawings up in my bedroom.
So it's sort of genetic. It's passed down.
Yeah, it definitely was a natural thing to get into.
Was it mostly caricatures, or what was it about?
That he drew?
Yeah.
He drew... So, I watched a lot of Disney movies when I was a kid, and so he would draw whatever I wanted him to draw, right? So, and I liked all the animal ones, right? So, Dalmatians and Bambi and all of those. So he's just drawing animals, basically. Yeah.
And then from there, that's also kind of what, took inspiration, where it grew. And you said you took a break from painting. What did you do in the meantime?
So after high school, I did 1 year in art school, post-secondary, and then I dropped out. And then I didn't paint for 5 years.
Do you mind if I ask?
Yeah, no, art school is great, but I don't think it's for everyone. In that sense, it just, I don't know, for a little bit, I just needed someone to not tell me what to do.
Yeah, because, it's a lot of creative expression that goes into artwork, that goes into painting. A lot of patience too.
Yeah.
And if you got someone over your shoulder telling you gotta restart that line, you gotta redraw that again, you gotta use different colors, that shade doesn't look that good. I can see the frustration building up.
Yeah, and it was a really good, there was a lot of good experiences and learning that came from that, but it just, I needed a break, and then I went a completely different...
Was it over here at the Alberta school? The one next to SAIT?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it was a great school still. I just needed a break. But and then I went a different direction, and I went into real estate for 6 years. I was a realtor full-time.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's quite the career shift.
Yeah.
How did that feel at the time? That must have taken a lot of bravery.
Yeah, it was going into real estate, it was 22. I was the youngest realtor of most of the ones I worked with, and everyone's like, "Are you old enough to be here?" Like, I don't know.
What made you decide that career shift?
I like my family renovated houses a lot when I was a kid. I was just kind of around houses a bunch of different years, and I just kind of I found them really interesting. And then I liked working with people, so just kind of felt like I needed to decide what to do with my life, and I was like, let's give it a go.
So what, were you intimidated by it? Must have been.
A little bit, yeah. It was definitely a shift, and like working for yourself for the first time at 22, I was like, I don't know how to run a business, but I feel like that's kind of come back into starting my own art and design business now. Is I now had the painting experience on top of running a business and working with people and working for myself, and now I've kind of found a way that works for myself to merge them together.
Right, that responsibility carries on, and that's sort of accountability too. You gotta be accountable for your prices, for the cost of the materials, and finding people to show your art to show houses to.
Yeah, so it's like they're very different industries, but I did find a way to like combine my skills.
Are you still a realtor?
So I was a full-time, now I'm transitioning out. I work just with family now, so like if there's family deals, I'll do them, but that's really the only thing I'll do.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
What made that transition? Are you an artist full-time now?
That is my main thing.
Yeah.
In the next year, it's my goal for like this to be my full thing. So I have that little bit of real estate still with family that will eventually probably close fully. And then I do a little bit of personal training.
Nice.
And yeah,
like very
I just kind
active,
of
like at the gym? Awesome.
Well, I have a in-person client. I go to her house and I like train her and stuff, and then I'll do workout plans for people sometimes. It's just something I found interesting, and I got a diploma in it while being in real estate. I was trying to.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to piece it all together here, and I'm sure the audience is too. We started off with painting.
Yeah.
And then we went to post-secondary for painting.
Yeah.
And then you went into the realtor business.
Yes.
And then you went into personal training.
Yes.
That's incredible mix of just abilities to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, I think from real estate, I learned that I don't like every day being the same. So with having like a couple things on the side, painting as my main business, it's kind of like keeps things a little different every day.
What about the sports side of you? Do you see any connection between that and painting?
Not as much. I think it like shifted as just a way to, I don't know, whenever work out or like when I would play sports as a kid, it just kind of like clears your mind. And I feel like when you're painting, you can get in your head a bunch. So sometimes you just need to like reset because you're like focusing on this one thing, and when you come back.
I don't paint, so I can't.
Okay.
I can't really walk me through it. Getting into your head. When you get into your head about when you're painting.
So okay, I'll use one of these for an example. Like, okay, you have all of these little tiny pieces to do, right? You're working on one of them, and you're probably like this close from the canvas, like face to canvas, and you're like working on this one piece, and it's just not looking right. It's kind of like when you write a word over and over again. You're like, is this?
No.
You know what I mean? You're like,
yeah, I remember that
is this
from
how you spell this word. Like, it doesn't look like a word anymore.
Yeah, as a kid, I used to. Yeah, when they made you do like
write the same word over. Yeah.
It does pay off in the end, but it's tough work.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes you like get in your head in that sense, and you're like, is this how this is supposed to look? And kind of overthink it, and then then I like walk or run or sports or whatever. You kind of like you shut your brain off and you focus on something else, and you come back with a clearer mindset, and you're like come back and you're like, okay, this is how this is supposed to look, or this needs to be changed.
I can kind of see where your mindset would be when you're drawing out the minute details and making sure that each one of them doesn't look too wobbly, doesn't look too out of place.
Yeah.
Everything looks like it belongs.
Yeah.
You have an experience drawing portraits?
A little bit. They are harder.
Much harder.
Much harder. Because with like a building or if something, like if you something's slightly wrong, you might be able to get away with it. But if you're drawing a portrait and you know the portrait of the person you're drawing and something is slightly off, like the smallest thing, the whole face looks off.
When you do portraits, was it for a client you didn't know, or was it for a friend or someone you've been painted for a long time?
I've done more so like I've just painted musicians or actors kind of thing, just out of my own interest. No one's actually asked for those ones.
Who have you painted? What actors? What musicians?
Okay, so I've done Dolly Parton. I've done Jimi Hendrix. And I've painted, what's her name from Pulp Fiction? Like Uma Thurman, like.
Yeah, with the wig.
Yeah, with the wig, yeah. I've done that one.
With the bob haircut.
Yeah. I think that's all I can think. I know I've done more, but those are the ones that come to mind right now.
Are you a big fan of Dolly Parton and Hendrix?
Yeah.
Because the Dolly Parton one, the portrait stuck to me when I was looking at your work.
Oh, yeah?
Like, oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a fun one. I definitely go through different musical waves of what I'm listening to, and she's kind of been in the mix. And the last time that she was in the mix, I also watched her documentary, and I just found her very interesting and her business sense very interesting.
Do you listen to music when you're painting?
Often.
Yeah?
Yeah, I switch though. I switch between music, podcasts, or like the odd time I'll have like a show in the background, as long as it's one that I know decently well, so I don't have to like look away. So it's kind of in podcast form, I guess.
Gotcha. Like the Office. I know people.
Yeah, like The Office.
Use that a lot.
Or Friends, or Parks and Rec. Those ones. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What type of music do you listen to when you're painting? How does it affect when you paint?
Oh, it's kind of all over the place. I don't think, like, whatever I'm painting isn't usually reflected in my music.
Okay.
It's more so, like, whatever mood I'm in that day. But yeah, it's kind of a variety from, like, I'm trying to think, kind of like chill, like folky music, or like early 2000s, like, I don't know, like if you go to like early 2000s and 90s nostalgic playlist kind of thing. I'm all over the place.
I was thinking, when you brought up, musicians and such, I was wondering if the music somehow affected the painting or if there was any connection between the two.
Not usually, weirdly. Usually it's just like whatever music will help me get in like the zone, like, your phone's in a different room, just kind of try to like lock in for a few hours and
exactly
whatever will keep me focused.
Get that focus in there.
Yeah.
And what about podcasts? How do they keep you focused?
Yeah, I listen to them in smaller doses because sometimes I get too like focused on listening and then less focused on painting. So I'll do them in small doses, but I like uplifting podcasts. Like I need something that's like happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did a design for a podcast, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, they're a local Calgary one called Girl Dinner.
How was that like?
It was
How'd you get
fun.
Were you a fan beforehand or did they come to you?
So yeah, I was a fan beforehand. One of the hosts is a realtor that I worked with.
Ah, okay.
So when she was like announced that she was
making a podcast.
Yeah. I was like, can I do a design for you?
What did you design for them?
I did this so I also do digital drawings.
Okay.
Because I have a diploma for graphic design, which is kind of what led me back into art actually. But so I was really into like the illustration side of graphic design, and then I was doing different drawings on there, and that's an easier way to convert it for like shirts and different stuff like that. So I did this design. They kind of liked, because it's called Girl Dinner, so they wanted this like raccoon with like these big sunglasses and just like random food floating around it. So it's got like burgers and pizza and yeah,
nice.
Kind of just like this fun cartoon.
And how'd you get into graphic design? How did that decision come about?
When I was like for sure that knew that I was wanting to leave real estate. I was like, I feel like this is the next step. So I started taking graphic design classes, and I kind of started painting at the same time. And so I was evolving both graphic design and painting kind
like
of
you were going
together.
back to painting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of at the same time.
How did it separate? Because you mentioned earlier on that when you went to art school, it was a little bit of that, you didn't want to get told what to do.
Yeah.
But in graphic design, that's pretty much your work is getting told by clients, okay, I want this, I want that. So how did that work for you?
Well, I think like there was a lot of good skills that came from graphic design, and I was able to see that as more of like there's a very creative side to it, but there's also a very technical side to it. And since I started painting at the same time, I kind of had like my freedom with painting, and then I was okay with being like instructed with graphic design. And like if you're making a poster for something, there are rules to follow, or like grids,
guidelines,
like
formats.
Yeah, otherwise like it will look off, right?
Yeah.
But like I can paint how I want to paint. With like there's still some things I like to apply, but it's not as technical.
Are there any skills that transferred over from graphic design that you didn't know when you were painting before into when you're painting now?
So I think like when I was taking graphic design, I kind of was re-emerged in classes that I had already taken, but it was like 9 years before. So you're kind of getting color theory refresh, and you're getting, they actually made me take a drawing class, which was kind of cool. I went to the U of C and I did an in-person drawing class, and it kind of refined some of my skills that when you take a break, you forget about.
So it's not like muscle memory?
Yeah. It kind of like, well, it is, but it kind of disappears for a minute and then it comes back quicker.
Gotcha.
You know, like you're like
the accuracy.
Yeah. You're like, how do I do this? I know how. And then once you relearn it gets,
detail.
Yeah.
What skill do you feel like you forgot?
So my first couple paintings, I started with people, and I was like, the proportions, like when I looked at it, the proportions just looked off.
It's always the proportions.
Yeah. And then in this class, we were like, not with like a ruler or anything, but just like kind of like talking about proportions and like measurements and stuff to think about when you're drawing. So that really helped.
And then I imagine it must have been a lot of working in digital fields with digital software. Had you had any experience in working in that before?
Not really. That was, so besides that drawing class, everything was online.
Okay.
Which was obviously helpful when you're learning.
Was it during the pandemic? Was it during the pandemic?
It wasn't. It was like the last couple of years, but I think like since real estate, I'm so used to working from home. I think I was working from home often before everyone else was working from home even. And I was like, I just like it. So I liked finding a program that was online. But yeah, like learning all those different softwares and stuff. And I even use it in my art now because I make prints. And I make them.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So then like if I take this painting, I'll probably put it into Photoshop if there's any weird like shines or anything like that to kind of remove some of that stuff.
So you'll paint it first.
Yeah.
Put it in the digital software.
Yeah.
And then print it off.
Yeah, and then it comes out like these ones.
Oh, sweet, awesome.
And
okay.
then got that into here.
And in that, can you point out like the digital software came in?
Honestly, the beauty of it is you can't see it. Like if, because I just use like a nice camera, I get a picture of the canvas, and then I usually try to time it with really good natural light. But if there is like a shine with like how it hits the paint, I'll kind of go in with like a brush and just kind of remove the shine so it all blends to how it would appear on the canvas. Obviously it wouldn't compare quite to the original, but it's pretty close.
Nothing does.
Yeah, that's the beauty of original.
What about that other print that you had right under it? What's that about?
Yeah. So this, so I like doing buildings. I also like doing...
I can see that.
like set. So like you've got Central Perk behind you over there. And then this fall, since Gilmore Girls seems to be a big fall show everyone's doing, I also really like it. So I did the Stars Hollow gazebo. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and this was my first one doing, because that one's 8 by 10, so this is my first time kind of getting into the bigger sizes. Yeah.
Awesome.
But I would have brought the original of that one, but it's at Cold Garden right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, look at that. And then obviously we've got Central Perk here from Friends.
Yep.
But it's a different perspective, huh? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's the vertical version.
Yeah.
I've usually seen it, when you watch the TV show, it's a horizontal version of it.
Yeah.
What made you want to make that choice?
I just like how dominant the couch is. Because I feel like that's the most, besides the sign, obviously, it's like so recognizable. And I really like this angle because there's so much of the couch. It's just really warm. Like all the colors are really warm.
When it comes to your art, when it came to selling it, how did you start? I know you told me about that like under 100 sale, but even afterwards or before, how do you price your artwork? Like that's a question, a lot of artists, I imagine they must have when they're just starting out.
It's very hard. I think, so I started selling my art for the first time kind of like at Cold Garden, not this last year, but in 2024. That was my first time, besides being a teenager, that I started selling my artwork.
Oh, you sold it when you were a teenager?
Yeah.
Where'd you sell it?
I did, like, people would just like come to me and ask for custom pieces sometimes. So like, I don't know, when you're a teenager, money, like certain amounts sound like a lot, but it's not. And you're like, this much. And people are like, sure. And I had like
$20.
Yeah, and I did like art contests, so then those were set prices kind of that you would get. So that's kind of what it was. And at Cold Garden, that was my first time selling it last year. And I just wanted to sell it, so I just picked random numbers to start with. But now I have more of a strategy. It's still kind of like on the lower end, but I did try to like look around at other artists and take into account that I was still am still figuring out my skills and like where I want it to be. And I know a lot of people say you should charge by the hour, but I think you have to take into account that you can't charge people for you to learn. Like there's a bit of education that goes into every piece. Like I won't really say no to painting anything, even if I know it's going to be a learning curve. So I'm not going to charge someone for my hours of learning. So I just try to go by size and detail now.
And starting out, how were you able to gather the materials for it?
I used to paint in oil paints. I now paint in acrylic, which dries faster, but if you looked at it, you might probably not be able to tell it's just paint, right?
To me, it's just paint.
Exactly,
I'm not a painter.
Exactly, yeah. But I just started with leftover paint I had from art school. It didn't go bad. I just started painting.
I don't think paint expires.
Yeah.
I don't think it's meant to be consumed.
Does it go bad? It's not meant to be consumed. Yeah. But yeah, I just kind of started with what I had, and then there's different grades that you can buy. So there's student grade and professional grade, and there'll be different prices. So I just started with like the entry level ones just to see if I still liked painting. And just because I didn't want to, it's like anything, if you're kind of
you don't want to go all in.
Yeah, why go but get the most expensive thing if you're not there yet. Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you, aside from Cold Garden and the Under 100 sale, what other venues have you been to here in the city?
So those are my main two that I have done, but I also started getting into markets just as ways to kind of get more exposure, get out there more, and I'm still kind of looking into different areas in Calgary and reaching out to coffee shops and stuff, because there's a lot of places that have local art. but those are my main two, and then markets.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Have you painted anything Christmas related, like Christmas scenes or what?
It's on my list to kind of expand and have like holiday collections. So I don't have specific Christmas ones. I do have like digital art Christmas cards that I've made. And then I'll sell prints, and I've turned my paintings into stickers as well.
Nice.
So I'll have those. And then I made these like little matchboxes that I put digital art on them as well. So there'll be some Christmas and then some like local. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How's the process of taking the painting and then turning them into stickers? Because I imagine it's a bit of a downsize from the artwork to the sticker.
That's where my graphic design kind of comes in, and I bring it into one of those programs, and I just kind of like shrink it down, and I won't do like a full scene. Like I think I did a Pop-Tarts box painting, and I kind of just cropped out the background, and you just kind of like cut around the item, and then the sticker is just the shape of the item.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And how do you keep the detail?
It honestly, like it comes through really well. I picked ones that aren't like, I probably wouldn't do one with like this amount of detail in it. It's more of simpler pieces. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's kind of like, what's going on this tiny piece?
That's what I was imagining when you told me about the stickers.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder how she keeps the detail into those
Nothing
little things.
super detailed. Yeah.
One of the guests I have afterwards, she does a lot of paintings on dark backgrounds.
Okay.
Yeah. Really makes the colors pop and everything.
Yeah.
Is there a certain background that you have a preference towards?
I usually just do like a warm kind of base coat behind everything, because I'm drawn to like the really warm kind of like cozier colors. So.
You don't like winter, you hate drawing.
I don't like winter. I'm trying to. We live in Calgary, I'm really trying to.
What's the story behind this painting right here?
So I really like Calgary's brewery scene. Like over the last like decade, I think they've really like expanded, and there's just like a lot of really cool places, and they all have their own personality. And 88, speaking of skiing, they're after like the 88 like Olympics kind of, so they have a lot of that kind of thing going on in there.
I haven't heard of those guys.
Have you ever been to 88?
No, I haven't heard of those guys.
Okay, so they're in Ramsey, of course. A lot of the things that I paint are in Ramsey and Inglewood. But so, they have just kind of the whole atmosphere in there is like 80s and bright and fun. And so their upstairs bar area, they have all the like old TVs and VCRs and like that kind of stuff. So I just thought it was a really cool scene that they have going on up there, and I wanted to paint it. And then I wanted to play around with like the neon sign that they have.
Gotcha. Yeah. Very, very retro vibe.
Yeah.
How did it feel to paint with neon colors?
It was so fun.
Yeah. How'd you get that effect going?
So you kind of like, I built it up with like really light colors, and then I went to the paint store, and I was like, looked for the most like neon pink that I could find. And that's kind of what you see with like that kind of glowish look. And then to kind of really emphasize the sign, I brought it like the reflection pink into all the things underneath it.
I think we can get it down, have the audience get a closer view to it. Here we go. Okay. And how did it feel to draw the lettering? Ooh, that must have been a challenge.
It was so hard. I started to realize that it was so like thick for those letters that I was like, if you can't read it, that's fine, as long as you can tell that it's letters or like supposed to be words.
And is it the actual menu that you copied off of it?
I did try to write out their menu.
Yeah, points for accuracy. There you go.
Yeah.
And there you can see the neon effect. You can catch it right there. Awesome. But that's great that, wherever you go, what inspires you, people appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Calgary has like a lot of really cool spots, and especially it's like evolved so much over the years that I think people like to see it, and like they can have something of a place that means something to them in their house if they want like a print or a painting of one of them, you know?
Well, it's always evolving. You know, you drive anywhere
Yeah.
in the city and there's always construction everywhere.
Yeah, I know. Someplace lasts though, like Galaxy Diner's been here since 1996.
Tell me more about Galaxy Diner. You can bring it forward if you want.
Oh yeah. It's just like a really cool retro diner in Calgary. Kind of like your classic breakfasts and milkshakes, and I really liked the neon signs that they've got going on. And
There you go, home of the all-day breakfast.
yeah, and I love a brick building, so
You get a lot of those in Inglewood for sure.
Yeah.
And so you used to go there a lot during high school.
yeah, it was not too far away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful. I'm a big fan of yellow. And I
yeah.
really like that shade.
Thanks. Yeah.
And again, just the detail with the edges.
Yeah, they've got like a strip of like neon light kind of like under that building, so it kind of comes down.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And again, I was just playing around with the neon signs. These two were my first times doing neon, so I was like,
Have you ever been commissioned to paint a building?
I've done houses for commissions, like, I don't know, sometimes people like, they're like childhood homes or like current homes kind of things. So I've done mostly like those kinds of things, yeah. And pets.
Pets. Yeah, it's a lot less pressure or maybe even more pressure to draw a pet than it is a portrait. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because some pet owners can be very, very picky.
Yeah. I've found it like, I don't know, I try to have a really good conversation with them beforehand. Like if they send one photo versus a few photos, be like, what kind of thing are you looking for? And I just try to have a really
What kind of animal is this?
Well, sometimes the pictures are so different, right? You're like, what are you looking for?
Right, and also, you know, when you're taking pictures, the colors rely a lot on the sensors of the phone or the camera that you're taking a picture with.
Yeah.
So that must also be a challenge, you know?
Yeah.
Depending on where they took the picture, the dog could be, I don't know, looking black, but it's
Yeah.
actually brown.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, sometimes it's like if you send one picture, it's like focus on making it just look like that picture. Or if there's multiples, it's like, what's the goal, I guess, for the photo?
That was one of my questions, actually. If you had any communication, like communication with the client, and how did you agree on a shared vision between the two of you?
I feel like you just have to have I try to have a very good conversation ahead of time to save any issues like later on. Like I always offer mini revisions at the end, but the goal is to be that it's like almost there by that time. So I think you just have to have good communication before you even get started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so both of you are on the same page.
Yeah.
Is there any exotic animal you've had to paint before?
No.
No? Just cats and dogs?
Yeah, I haven't even done I've done maybe one cat, but it's been mostly dogs. I think we're a very dog city.
And what type of houses have you painted? You mentioned that you've done childhood homes before.
Yeah, I've got one that I'm working on right now for my friend's childhood home. The dog trainer that we sent one of our dogs to, they trained out of their house. Like they had a kind of acreage and their business was out of that house. So it was their first year business anniversary. So they had me paint like their house with like their little sign in the window of like the training company. It was cute.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
When you mentioned childhood home, I thought that you were painting off of pictures, like old pictures that they had of their childhood home or something.
Oh yeah. That's what it will be. Yeah. I'm kind of working on it right now, but yeah.
From what time?
I think it was like she just went through her photos and kind of like gave them to me, but it's like probably from 2000.
Okay.
Yeah. Like an old.
Do you still get to? Are you gonna draw? Is there like a car in the parkway or something like that you can add some of that 2000s feel to it?
There is not, because it's one of those like inner city communities where they don't have the front driveways.
Right.
So it's like just the house, but it's like one of those homes from, I think, probably the like early 1900s, like one of those really older ones. They actually ended up tearing it down and rebuilding because it was so old, but she was so young and she's like, my house.
She kept the pictures.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So that'll just be like a special one that she can take with her.
Yeah, I've seen some of those houses in Kensington,
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah, Kensington has a lot of those early 1900s type of houses.
Yeah, Kensington.
But yeah, that's sweet that you're making a painting for her.
Yeah, it's kind of like a nice way to like hold on to those things.
Aside from that, what other projects are you working on presently?
So speaking of pet paintings, I'm finishing up one of those. I've got like a few kind of like that pre-Christmas commissions, and then I'm doing the Under 100 art show again this year. So I just finished up this one that I'm going to put in it, and a couple other ones. So I'm just finishing up basically, and then getting ready to get started in the new year for the next round.
Nice.
Yeah. So right now, I guess, just finishing up a bunch of different ones.
Has it been difficult finding commissions here in Calgary? Is there a big art community, painting community?
The art community has definitely grown a lot. Like we have a pretty good art community now, especially comparing it to like probably like 10 years ago. Like I think it's just really evolved, and I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of people who want kind of something personal in their house that's specific to them.
Yeah.
So I've been finding commissions for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's starting out and just trying to find commissions, trying to find clients. I imagine it must be tough because everyone's very, very subjective about art.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, a lot of people can be picky, and it's finding that shared vision that can be tough sometimes.
Yeah. I think that's kind of where social media can be helpful. It's kind of like you reach a wider audience and you find people that connect with you and your work kind of thing. And then on top of that, having your work out in town, like Cold Garden and Under 100, and then like the coffee shops. I think there's lots of coffee shops that do local art, and
that you can get sort of that exposure there, and people get to know you because it's local.
Yeah. And people love local, right? Like you want to support local like as much as possible. So yeah.
What about art shows? I know we've talked about markets, but what about Calgary art shows? Are there a lot that feature local artists? I
haven't looked into shows as much. Like I mostly just have been looking into coffee shops. You know, when there's so many things you want to look into. It's on the list of stuff, but I haven't specifically. I know they have a lot of shows. I just haven't dove into that yet.
Yeah, it's finding those kind of communities, I guess, those opportunities. Always looking out for them and then maintaining a list. Yeah, it is kind of difficult. There's
there's a lot of opportunity in Calgary. It's just picking where you want to look first, you know? Yeah.
But I hope that with the holidays coming up, you know, people want to buy gifts, personalized gifts, and they look towards painters to kind of get that done. Yeah. That's where I think markets kind of help too. It's like overlapping with other local businesses and stuff, and yeah. When it comes to painting, I wanted to ask you, when it comes to the process of it, have there been any mistakes that you've made that you've been able to fix? Any stories that stand out? We used to have a segment on the show called Horror Stories, and it was basically where the guests would tell us their experiences in their craft, you know, a horror story, and how they were able to learn from it.
There definitely have been. My first few, I think I cried through a few paintings. I was like, this is not.
Which ones? What were you painting?
The Dolly Parton one. I repainted.
The Dolly Parton one.
Yeah. I repainted her face on that same canvas 4 times. That's where I was talking about, like, I can't charge hourly because, like, I just took this big learning curve on this piece, and it's just, I think that's, like, I'll take on any piece and I will spend whatever amount of time it takes to figure it out to get it how I want it to look. But yeah, her face, I couldn't get the proportions, and I just couldn't make it. I was like, this doesn't look like her. This doesn't look how I want it to look. And my husband was like, maybe you should just take a break. And I was like, no. And I sat there for 4 more.
What was his feedback?
He's like, I was so frustrated. You know, you're just like, you're at a mental block and you just can't get past it. And he's like, I think like maybe you should just like take a break, come back to it tomorrow, put it aside for a month, whatever. But I'm stubborn, and I sat there for another 3 hours and
just looking at it,
painting
it. Okay.
Still like painting through the frustration, but like trying to analyze pieces in smaller, like breaking it down to smaller shapes. And eventually, after a few hours, I was happy with it.
What was the main thing that stood out to you from those hours? Like, what didn't look right?
It was, so it's not like super realistic how it turned out in the end, but it was way more like cartoon looking than I wanted it to be. And then like certain shapes, it didn't look like her, you know. And I was having trouble, like sometimes the nose is really tough, and like sometimes you just like, I repainted over that whole face, and I just started from scratch about 3 or 4 times. And I had a deadline for that one because I was switching it out for a different piece.
Are there any other art shows or I guess markets that you're looking forward to in the future?
Yeah, right now I've got 4 kind of holiday markets this month. Mm-hmm. And then the Under 100 show, and that takes me to the end of the year, and then I'll probably dive back into markets again next spring. I like because it is such like a individual thing, that going to markets and stuff, getting to like talk to people about it, and it's kind of a nice way to hone
those realtor skills back in.
Yeah. Combining those skills again. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you want to transition into painting full time. Mm-hmm. From your perspective right now, how does that journey look like? So I hired a marketing coach. Okay.
To kind of help, because I think when you're doing that full time, it's a business, and there's a million different aspects that you have to do every day. Like you can't just paint every day, right? So I just kind of help get like another perspective and some guidance and like one thing off the table. And I want to have an Etsy store, and then keep doing in-person markets, kind of local Calgary stuff. I would love to do collaborations with like local businesses one day. But yeah, just trying to figure out what direction that looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you brought up social media a few times. Mm-hmm. That's an area of focus right now, I imagine.
Yeah.
Kind of growing it from there.
Yeah, and like it's a good way to connect with people even in Calgary, right? Because, I mean, you're just at home. All those homebodies.
Sometimes it pops up, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, Instagram knows where you live, so they'll send you stuff related to the location and everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I found out about some of the things that go on, like art-wise in Calgary, so definitely helps.
Is that how you found out about the Cold Garden?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I always, we liked going to Cold Garden and everything, you know, you can bring your dogs, it's great. But they post all about how their art program works on their social media, and then they put like where to email, like they have the process laid out on there. So I think that's kind of how I signed up.
And what was the process of getting your art on that Cold Garden wall?
It was really good. Like their art director is just really good at organizing everyone. That's every cycle they have a certain amount of artists, and that's a lot of people and organizing, and they do it really seamlessly. Yeah.
That's good. That's good that they've got. I didn't know they had an art director.
Yeah.
How does that role play into the whole process?
So they like they organize all the inquiries, and then they have a list going, and it's I believe it's a 3-month cycle that every artist is on for, and then they plan a launch night for every new round, and all the artists get to hang out and meet each other and invite friends and family. So they put on that as well, and then they organize the setup and takedown, and then you know how they have those like beer growlers?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have an artist from one of the cycles do a design for those. Like they do all of that organizing.
That's fun that you're able to find, again, Cold Garden through social media, that you're able to submit it, and now it's your second time. How different was it from the first time?
Like my experience, I guess, I think it was pretty similar. It was like a nice, smooth setup and just kind of process, and you go in the mornings to kind of, if something sells, like to swap it out. And I've had a lot of good feedback from both rounds. Yeah.
Do you sometimes just kind of sit in the crowd and then just kind of try to hear what the customers are saying?
Yeah.
Without them knowing you're there?
Oh, 100%. And like mine is like under the stairs, so it's like in the lineup where you have to, so I'm always like, if I'm in line for a drink, I'm like
trying to eavesdrop on the conversations.
Of course.
And they do talk about it. They do talk about the art. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of, I think it's one of the cool things about them. They filled their walls with all the local art.
From other artists that you've met throughout the city, is there one that you'd like to collaborate with? Is there one that kind of, not in a way matches your style, but complements it?
Oh, that's tough. There's so many cool artists in Calgary, and like I have met, I've met a bunch of them, and I think there's not one in particular I can think of, but I would definitely be open to working with a variety of them. I saw a really cool collaboration for a mural that goes from Ramsey to Inglewood. These two artists collaborated together, and I got to volunteer to help paint with that. So I haven't done a direct collaboration, but I got to like kind of like see what that looks like.
What was your role? What'd you get to paint?
There's like, they had collected stories from people in the neighborhood, and they made this big mural to represent their stories. And it's the underpass that connects Ramsey and Inglewood.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like, I worked on like a parachute, and I worked on like some animals and stuff, and you just like paint certain sections, and you're with like 10 other people, and it's kind of fun.
When it came to, people who are just starting out painting, you've got a lot of experience through it. It's grown on you for a very, very long time. But what would be your advice for those people who are still trying to figure it out?
Who are just kind of starting painting?
Yeah. What are some 3 things that they should keep in mind?
Patience.
I think we talked about that one a lot. Yeah, definitely.
I think that like I think there's so much access to different education these days that like if there's something you're struggling with, just look it up. Like watch a video of someone else doing it. Read about it, or just kind of like be open to learning, and like just be okay with the fact that when you're starting, you're not probably going to be where you want to be yet, but you have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And then probably color theory is like one of my most interested areas of art. There's so much to learn there.
What do you mean about color theory?
There's like full color theory courses, like how colors work together, and like when you're making orange, or like a deep orange, the different shades, you're not necessarily using black. You're going to use the opposite of orange, which would be blue. Sometimes.
Oh.
Or like.
Okay. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So just like there's like.
I thought you were mixing like. I thought maybe you started with the lighter shade.
Yeah.
And then you just added like a little bit of gray or something to make it darker.
You're playing around with so many different colors, and if you look at one color, there's probably so many different undertones to that color. And there's just like so much to be learned when it comes to that kind of thing. So I think that's like a very important, if you like color, you're not paying like that area.
When it came to the city of Calgary, are there some specific spots that you'd suggest for people to go, maybe some of these people aspiring to be painters, to take a look at and really be inspired by the city? You seem to be someone who really loves the city.
I mean,
who
like,
appreciates it.
Yeah, I do love Calgary. There's like the classic viewpoints, right, where you can see like the mountains and the city, like Scotsman's Hill and like all of those. But I think if you go into the old communities, kind of like we talked about, where it's like early 1900s, and it's like this is kind of where the city started, and there's still some of that like character feeling there. Inglewood, Kensington, just like I guess downtown and area kind of things, even up to like Tuxedo. They're just like the really old areas. I find it inspiring to see kind of where it started and like what pieces of it are still there.
And then one last question, which we like to ask everyone who comes on the show. If you had one word to describe yourself, which one would it be?
It's a good question. Probably nostalgic. I mean,
I can see it in the paintings.
Comes out in my work. I love kind of like, I still use like a real camera if I can. I like my DVDs and my photo albums. Like I like kind of like the physical media. And
when you say a real camera, do you mean like a film camera?
I have my film camera. I have my Polaroid camera. I have my digital camera. Like
you didn't tell me you did film photography.
I more so just like use it for like events or like vacations and stuff. Like I just try to swap my phone out for that camera.
Oh, so one of those cameras that you would just buy for the vacation, or it's like a camera film.
It's like a film camera. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 Well, thank you so much for being part of the show. It was great having you here. It was great exploring your artwork, getting a lesson on color theory. I appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, and that wraps up another episode of StoryHive On Location Calgary. If you've got a story and want to be featured, don't forget to scan the QR code and apply to be a guest on our show. Stay tuned. See you next time.